Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is the 19th of January, 2018, and we have a decent little bit of stuff to go over here. We've had some kit releases, both one domestic and several overseas kits, including one F1 kit that I think a lot of people have been waiting on for so long they may have forgotten they ordered it. It's been that long since it got announced. We have, of course, kit announcements. We have basically the fill stuff, fill stuff, if you will, for February from Aoshima, all the reissues, as well as Hasegawa's March and Fujimi's April announcements to go through, as well as having a few little teaser things from a few things as well. So let's go over the new announcements that are concrete on paper, as it were. As we said, February. It's an F word, right? February for Aoshima. All of these are just restock, just reissues. These are all things that have been released recently. In several cases, these are the Tune model car kits that have sold out, and so they're just restocking. So you get a reissue of the 73 Nissan Skyline GTR, reissue of the Mazda RX-7 1979 24 Hours of Daytona kit, which is, of course, the old IMEI kit. Reissue of the 2010 WRX STI that can also be built as a 2007 with the parts in the box. Reissue of their Toyota Celica 2000 GT liftback. Reissue of the Subaru Sambar high roof 4-wheel drive. This is the recently released, probably within the last 4 months or so. Old 80s Subaru Sambar, old best car vintage kit that they put in all of the accessory parts. It has the roof rack for the inflatable raft and the oars and all the camping equipment and stuff like that. Well, not all the camping equipment, but there's some camping stuff with it and stuff in there as well. So don't confuse it with the newer tooled 2013 and up Sambar stuff. Reissue of the 1987 Nissan Cedric Gloria Y31 kit. It's one of the ones you can build one way or the other. Again, that's a recent reissue, probably 2 months ago. Reissue of the Top Secret Fairlady Z, reissue of the Lamborghini, obviously LB, and instantly go Lamborghini in my head for some reason, even though I've never abbreviated that way in my life. The Liberty Walk, that's what LB stands for. Ken & Murray GTR, that would be the second kit of the Liberty Walk series, and it is the 73 Skyline, and then also a reissue of the Liberty Walk Hakasuka Skyline, which is the 2014 version, the purplish dark blue car. That was the fourth kit in that series, and then they're also going to, and it seems like this one really does happen every 3 to 4 months, reissue all 3 of the Back to the Future kits from the first, second, and third movies. Over in March at Hasegawa, several reissues here. A couple of them are a little more interesting than others. They're going to reissue their Mitsubishi Galant VR4, the civilian car, not the rally version. Reissue of the Subaru Impreza WRX. Now, this is not a later WRX like several other manufacturers did. This is an early one. I think it's a 93, 94, somewhere in there. This is also the same kit that has a station wagon variation of it that Hasegawa did. This is the sedan version right now. Will we see the wagon? Depends on how well the sedan sells, probably. Reissue of the Honda Civic Seer 2. This is the 3-door Civic that has the red car on the box art. Been reissued twice in the last 18 months since it first came back. Reissue of the Jaguar XJ9 or XJR LM, the Le Mans version of that race car. Reissue of the Japanese Touring Car Championship Civic Fario Pia livery. This is the white car, black graphics. Anybody who watches this channel a lot and watches the what's in the box videos that we do, or the recent crates or whatever you want to call them, inside the stash is what the official videos are called. This is the kit that I just purchased out of Japan 3 or 4 months ago. They came with the Shunko replacements because the PS Civic has a specific set of wheels in it that are not included in the more recent, like the last year or so, reissue of the Fario cars that come with the Jax or the Castrol livery. The benefit of this kit, other than having factory fresh decals, which will require you to not have to paint the two-tone, is it will also have the low-down suspension parts that they put into the new kits, whereas mine is an old one and doesn't have that. And then last but not least is a retool reissue, and that is going to be a BMW 2002 Ti that represents the 1969 Monte Carlo Rally. So, for many people who, like I said, separate back seat means there's going to be a race car. There's your race car right there. Going to be March delivery on that. It's going to have a new exhaust, new wheels, the nightlight race. It has, it's a night race as well as a day race. It's got night lights, big spotlights for the Rally Inept as I'm stumbling over it myself. The car itself represents a Timo Mäkinen car. The car itself did not finish the rally. It burned the brakes up. There were 7 other BMW 2002 Ti's that did finish the race. The highest placing one was 7th place. So I would not be surprised to see Renaissance, Rege, and other companies do decal sets for other rally versions. It does have a cage. It is a full rally car type of thing. So it's not just, a compromise like a lot of their racing car kits have been in the past. They've sort of realized, I think, that a lot of people were not thrilled about that. That's why you see the retool parts for the Civics and the retool parts for the Corolla 11 and things like that. They're going to do this the right way. It'll have new uprights, shocked strut towers and things like that for the suspension, and be a little more complete as far as being a dual use, as opposed to, like I said, some of the cars that were issued as a civilian car and then turned into a race car later on in their lives. So that's a really cool thing. I actually think I'm probably going to pick one of those up, even though I really don't do much in the historic rally sense, and that's not a really good car as far as where it finished. It's just a cool, little add-on. So that, of course, will bring up the ability to see whether or not we'll get a street version of either the later 75, turbo. Remember, that has the new body in it that takes the square taillights and all the 75 trim. And now you have this 1969 Ti, one of the first 2002s that was done. So it'll be interesting to see if we get an older version as well. In the original kit, they tooled up all of these mirror options that they gave you in the first kit, when now you're seeing sort of fruition of where those mirror options are going to go. And then Fujimi has 3 kit announcements for April, and they are going to be doing a couple more of the Circuit No Anami, or the Circuit Wolf kits. One is going to be for the Circuit Wolf series, and then it's going to be a Lamborghini Countach LP400. That's going to be the curbside version of this kit in this series. If you want the full detail one, well, that'll be coming out next month. The Enthusiast series. And then they're also going to be doing apparently this car was in the Circuit Wolf 2, which is a completely different series than what they've been doing recently, and that is a reissue of their McLaren F1, which of course is the McLaren, sports car. Okay kit. It's not the greatest. It is certainly one of those kits, much like the Tommaso Pantera, that is a really cool subject, but not really well executed. The F1 kit, to me, suffers a lot of compromise, where the street car was used for a lot of the base of the short tail race car, and the short tail race car suffers for it as well. It's sort of one of those Fujimi kits where you look at stuff Fujimi has done in the past, like the Enthusiast series kits, and you look at some of the stuff they've done in the last 5 years, and you're like, there was clearly, obviously, been 30 years, but clearly a different design philosophy in the past. But the last thing is going to be another 3-pack set. You may recall that I believe it's for, I guess it's for February. I'm trying to remember when this is going to be coming out. It must be March. It's in March. They're doing that successive Skyline box set where it's going to be 3 Skylines, an R32, an R33, and an R34. Apparently they got enough pre-orders on that to sort of decide to do that with another series. And this is going to be a series of Toyota Mark II hardtops. You're going to get 3 kits in this, and it's going to be a GX61, a GX71, and a GX81. Now, the GX61 has been around the block several times, even recently, although it's not currently in the catalog, I don't believe. A lot of the times you see this kit, it has a lot of camber going on in it because They apparently don't think anyone wants to build one of these things factory stock anymore. Be interesting to see what wheels that kit comes, because the last couple of times it's come with only custom wheels and no factory stock wheels whatsoever. Excuse me. But you can't build the car factory stock. You just take some of the spacers and rearrange them on the suspension and in the back. Instead of the way you get camber on that specific car and several other of their old motorized kits is they give you 2 axle shafts and a little flexible sleeve in the middle, and so there's no solid axle. It just sort of meets in the middle, and you can bend the wheels however you need to within that sleeve to achieve camber. There's also the option to just put a solid metal axle through there and maintain a factory ride height. The GX71, it will be, at least from the box art they've showing currently, the one that they reissued, I want to say it's probably 3 years ago now, and that is the one with the high mecha parts, so that'll have the engine insert in it with the better chassis, because the curbside chassis is really pretty much junk, but the high mecha chassis is a completely separate chassis with a lot of the parts being separate on it because it's got a complete, more or less, engine. The only thing the engine is missing as it sits in the car is a transmission. The transmission is molded into the chassis, although there is a separate transmission if you just wanted to, well, swap the engine to something else or display the engine separately. It's on the verge of being like a Enthusiast Series kit, at least in the engine. The rest of it, not so much. But that kit has been reissued recently, the 71, in either the Toge's Mountain Pass series or just as a regular kit again. But like I said, this one, they're showing the engine insert, and then the GX81 is a kit that they announced about this time last year to be reissued, and then canceled the reissue. The kit was never produced for whatever reason. So a year later, the option to have this come back out again, we'll see. I would purchase this for the 61 and the 81. I don't need the 71. I already have one of those, and I don't need 2 Mark IIs of the same thing. But these 3 kits are successive generations, the 4th, 5th, and 6th generation of the Mark II, which allows you to build from 1984 to 1995, I think it is. 3 different generations. So it's like 84 to 87, 88 to 91, and then 91 to 95, I think, or how those split down, or somewhere in those general vicinities. That may not be the exact precise breakdown, but it's close enough for government work, so to speak. And so those are your announcements, your concrete announcements with dates on it. So we've gotten a few things that have popped up recently online that are teasers, if you will. First up, as I reload the screen because it doesn't have the most stuff I most recently downloaded on it, are these production shots from Hasegawa for the Isuzu Gemini Imscher, the turbocharged, German turbocharged version of the Isuzu Gemini. So this is going to be the production kit. This is not test shots, because this kit is supposed to come out on the 23rd of February, so about a month from now. Obviously, you will not have a hobby show between now and then, so they're showing this off on their Facebook page. It's everything you'd ever want about a compact Japanese car with great big monoblock style wheels and everything else like that. Looks really nice for what it is. What good things, I guess, can you say about it? This is a Gemini, but it's a cool subject matter. Again, if they follow out in fruition and make the 3-door hatchback, which ran in JTCC, that'll be fantastic. Don't have any parts trees to show you for this. They haven't shown those yet. But again, if there are separate back seats, then some race cars shall be coming, and it's just going to be a matter of time with that. Another test shot type thing that we saw pop up, and I'm not sure where this came from. I've seen a few people post it without any real source to it, is this flyer from BMAX. Now, this kit itself is not anything out of this realm of the ordinary. This was an expected version of this kit as it developed, as it were. I have personally restrained myself from buying the resin conversions that have been made for the BMAX kit to turn it into a Honda Civic EF9. This is similar to the Tamiya kit. Obviously, it's the BMAX kit. You're going to get new hood, new new front and rear bumpers, a new rear spoiler. I believe there's some new exhaust in there as well, and a couple other little pieces and parts to bump it up a couple of years into the EF9 series. Looks like it'll have a Jax livery to it. I'm not sure what they're gonna, if that's just a just a placeholder for the picture. If that's really going to be the livery with it, there's been no other information about this kit. But again, like I said, it was something that was to be expected with the hood being separate. I was telling a few friends this. Nobody seems to remember the argument, but I certainly do because I can hold a grudge. And that is when BMAX released the EF3 kit, the first one, the one with the PIA livery to it, and then they subsequently did that second reissue with a 2-in-1 excuse me, livery. I said the reason that the hood is separate is because everybody was crying a river. They separated the hood. They gave us these like vague engraving on the shock towers for an engine bay, but they didn't give us an engine. They should be pilloried and beaten to death and everything else. How dare they not put an engine in this, not realizing, of course, that, there wasn't going to be an engine in it. I could have told, anybody would listen to me for 5 seconds would have told them there was going to be an engine in it, but everybody wants to be their own person and think they know everything. The reason the hood is separate is because they're going to make other versions of this kit. And I got excoriated for daring to say that there was a different hood for the EF3. You don't know what you're talking about. There's no other hood for this car. This car only has this hood. You are an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Well, bro, I never said it was going to be another EF3, did I? Did I ever say it would be another EF3? I said there was another version of this kit coming, which it is, an EF9, which requires a different hood and front and rear bumpers. When you sit down, guys, if you're not into import kits, then this is all just water under the bridge to you. But for anybody who really wants to sort of, become a hobby insider, all you got to do is look at how a kit breaks down to understand what things are going to happen next. When you're given a brand new model kit and you look at the instructions, and in the instructions, this only works for Revell of Germany kits and import kits, by the way, because, well, there is the silhouette of parts on the bottom of round 2 kits, but they don't say what parts you're supposed to use and which ones they're not. They're just a parts tree layout. But you get a Japanese kit, and it tells you, what parts are on the back there and what they are, what part in the tree they are. There's a little reorder form and all that crap on there. There's a bunch of stuff that will say blanked out. It'll say not for use, which means it doesn't go to that particular model that you're building. Now, if you're building an old kit that's been reissued 18,312 times, then it's irrelevant what those parts are because they're just throwing everything in the kitchen sink in the release. Aoshima has been doing this with a lot of their reissues with their tuned model car and model car lineup, where it has all of the parts, 2, 3, 4 sets of wheels sometimes. But when it's a brand new kit, and this is the first version that's coming out, and there are parts on there that are not used, guess what? That means those are for a different model kit of that same car, basically. Derp. So when you get a brand new car that's a curbside and the engine is separate and the front and rear bumpers are separate, guess what? That means down the line someplace there's going to be different front and rear bumpers and a different hood being put on the car. In this case, it makes an EF9 Civic. Another great example of that, the recently, brand new tool kit that just came out of Aoshima. Those ProBox Succeeds, right? The whole front end is separate. Why? Well, we told you why. There's going to be other versions of it. Tuner VIP van versions. Going to do the old versions, the pre-2014 facelift car. Listen. Well, you guys listen because you're subscribed to this channel. But tell your friends, notify your neighbors, get your daughters off the front lawn. There's a reason things are done certain ways, and that happens to be, at least in the Japanese or Asian, if you want to count this, because BMAX is Macau and Meng. Meng doesn't have any extra parts, but, you see this extra part thing with aircraft and armor kits sometimes. If there's a brand new kit that's just been handed to you, and there are parts that you don't use, that is an automatic guarantee that it may never see the light of day. The kit may stink on ice and never sell, but in that tooling, there's something else coming. When we got the 2002 TII, there were 15 pieces included in that kit that do not get used to build a TII. And I'm not talking about the spare mirrors and the other fenders, or the other bumpers and stuff like that. I mean, there are 15 parts on that tree that weren't even optionally to be used. Obviously. That means there's another version. The Honda Civic, the brand new Honda Civic that Hasegawa just did, has like 14 or 17. It's some mid-teen number, again, of parts on that runners that are blanked off, that you're not allowed to use, or not supposed to use. I guess you do whatever you want to, but you're not supposed to use on that version of the kit. So a lot of times the breakdown of a kit doesn't make sense within the context of, well, why is this hood separate if they're not going to give us an engine? Well, we saw this, they're back here. We saw that with the 240RS, parts are broke down because there's another version of the 240RS. The TA64 Celica, same difference. Well, the hood's separate, this is separate, that's separate. Well, the Tarmac car is a slightly different year car, And so it has a different front clip and a different hood and things like that. And holy mackerel, there's a whole nother kit out there. So, yeah, okay, there's my rant for that for the minute, but that drives me crazy when somebody is just, shocked that something could possibly ever be done. Everyone is a little too used to, and this may be indicative of the age of the hobby, average builder, or maybe their just interest in stuff ahead of time, is the fact that everybody still assumes this is like 1972, and, nothing could ever be done. We talked about this just recently with the Revell and the whole Hobbico thing, and how Revell does their kits, and the fact that they have to have at least three versions, preferably 5, in order to do a new tool of something. Well, where do you think they learned that from? The Japanese. The only people that really get away with doing one single version of a model kit is Tamiya, and for the most part, you pay for it because Tamiya kits tend to be more expensive than everything else, even buying them through Japan, that whole 9 yards. But, if you want to buy FXXK, it's going to cost you a little bit of extra money compared to Nissan GTR from Aoshima, because there's only going to ever be that one FXFK. There's not going to be, tuner GTR, this year GTR, oh, we're going to tweak this and make it into that year GTR, we're going to do this tuner GTR, So, I guess the whole general thing is, if you buy import cars and you want to know what's going on, just pay attention to what you bought. It's not that hard. There is one other thing here that I want to talk about real quick. I think it is, there it is right there. Now, this is a new venture. I'm not exactly sure what the background is here, as far as who's behind it and everything else like that. It just sort of popped up out of the woods here really broadly this week. The Facebook page has actually been there since June of this year. It's a new venture that is called Salvino's JR Models. I believe, probably based on looking at a couple of the back and forth on the Facebook page, that the J and the R are initials, and Salvino is the last name. And it's really like JR Salvino's Models, not Salvino JR Models, but maybe there was some sort of issue with the website. I don't know. Whatever. However they want to do their names is however they want to do their names. They are doing a brand new 128 piece. So this is full detail. Polystyrene. They made some sort of comment about Revell's PVC pipe plastic, which is funny because, of course, it was PVC plastic. It wouldn't stick, and you would have to use PVC glue, and, it's across the bow shot at Revell for some unknown reason, but, be that as it may. Version of this, and this is the 1980 Daytona 500 winner, Gray Ghost, or Silver Ghost, excuse me, as it's known, or Gray Ghost, that Buddy Baker drove. I believe the body style is actually a 1977 Oldsmobile 442 or Oldsmobile, Cutlass. But in those days, NASCAR allowed them to use the cars for 3 to 4 years per body style. So even though a lot of the other cars had switched to the G-body, the intermediate series car, the full-size Cutlass was still being used in NASCAR, including in 1980. There are a number of decals available for this, actually, already, that were done for resin trans kits for other things. I believe they're also going to be doing a Richard Petty version of it, because Richard Petty raced it, I believe, in 1979. There is rumors that they will also be doing a 77 Monte Carlo full detail kit in the future. Right now, they're focusing on just this one Oldsmobile. It is being designed, tooled, produced, and sold in the United States. What we're being told right now as far as the price on this is going to be $40. Half the audience just threw their stuff and left, and the other half of you are like, huh, really? Well, this does present an interesting situation. Now, like, if this is, if you go on their Facebook page, you'll see a video of them displaying the CAD of how the tooling insert for the body is going to work. So this has been designed. There are test shots. There's a built model on their Facebook. I just chose this real picture because it was bigger than the stuff they're using. There's a test shot of the car, and it's not a production shot because the glass isn't done yet, but it's a test shot of the model. Full detail engine. I think it's 23 pieces, so it's not even like it's a curbside or a part of a curbside or anything else like that. So I guess the question really does become, now, subject matter aside, let's pause this for a second in case you don't care about vintage NASCAR. If Revell was to tell you that they could get their model kits done in the United States, because this looks like there's proof that it can be done, and the price is going to be $35. Because the reason the price on this is $40 is because it's a limited run, right? They're going to do other versions of it, probably like 2, 3, 4 different decal versions of it. So you're selling them in limited quantities, only to sort of force people to buy the next decal version, right? Because Richard Petty version will sell probably a lot better than this one would. But the decals probably either already exist or will be made shortly thereafter by the aftermarket, by people who want to build the Richard Petty version and not this. So you want to sort of, keep the number kind of low. First of all, production costs are lower when you are only producing a certain number of things. Although, that's fractionally lower because the big chunk of the price is, of course, making the tooling. But at the same time, you sort of, control they're not going to be distributed by anybody. You can apply for a dealer's license if you want to, but or dealer's wholesale agreement, whatever you want to call it. But they're not starting out by going, hey, we're going to Hobbico and selling them through that way. You can buy them directly from them, or they're taking pre-orders, which I'm sure will probably fund a little bit of this venture as it goes along. And then, your hobby shop or whatever can obviously do a wholesale arrangement with them. So don't expect this to show up at a Hobby Lobby. It's the roundabout thing we're going for here. I keep staring at it because, to me, vintage NASCAR, yeah, I could take it or leave it. It's not something that is really necessarily my cup of tea. Buddy Baker's car is a cool-looking car, two-tone black and silver and all that, or black and gray, however you want to look at that. Decals are being done by Cartograph, so the decals should be just as good as anything else. If this functions, they're saying March, by the way. That's the amusing thing. They're saying March is when this is going to come out. I think that might be a wee bit optimistic, just based on everything. But if it is anything close to March, like even April or beginning of May, because I could give you that 45 to 60 day window and not care, it would give a production schedule for this kit from the time that it was talked about until the time it's going to be run of 9 months. Now, a small company, more nimble, able to do things and things like that, but it also proves, I think, to a certain extent, what Revell and Monogram had when they were based out of Morton Grove and Elk Grove Village separately, what AMT Earl had when they were in Dyersville as a whole company, and that is when you have, I understand that some people that are involved in this are in Texas, and it's going to be tooled at a facility in California, that having it be within 2 time zones in the same country makes it a heck of a lot easier to get things done in terms of fixing things. Is $40 too much for this? For just a 128-piece model kit. I mean, it's no more, no less in terms of parts than a newer Revell kit. Newer Revell kit's 115 or 120 pieces. Are you willing to pay? I mean, again, a little bit of that money, $5, maybe even $10 of it is tied up in the fact that it's a small, limited production run. It's a brand new kit. So you're doing an amortization table there where you're like, well, this tooling costs X amount of money, and we need to sell X amount of kits to pay for the tooling, right? And then everything after that becomes profit. So you're like, well, they haven't announced a number what their idea of a limited edition, limited release is, but they have somebody there has a calculator, knows how to do this, and has figured out that if they sell this many Oldsmobiles, it'll pay for this tooling. And the $40 to $50 window is where you start looking at Bell kits as far as their prices go, and they're doing runs of about $3,000 to $5,000 or so. I'm very interested to see what happens with this. Not because I think this is going to become the Revell's major company or corporation to deal with, and it's a good thing because if this exists, it's another American model company, and you can always go for one of those. But it also proves a point that I've been trying to make to numerous people for a while, and that is that racing, the niche of racing, is the closest thing we have to adult hobbying in this generalized, automotive hobby. What I mean by that is a lot of people are more than willing to just build whatever Revell sends out because their idea of a hobby shop, unfortunately, is Hobby Lobby. And so I went to Hobby Lobby today. I picked up some tweezers because in moving everything around, my tweezers disappeared. And I looked at what was on the shelf, and there's probably, because I haven't bought a lot of domestic stuff in there's probably half a dozen things I could buy. None of them are going to be any cheaper or right around the same price I would pay at my local hobby shop, so I'm not going to support Hobby Lobby over my local guy just out of basis that I like my local guy more than I care for anybody who works at Hobby Lobby. But also, nothing in there is brand new. It's all 90 days out of date. Or thereabouts. I think the newest thing I saw in there, I'm trying to think of what it was, because it was the one thing that I was like, hey, that's actually kind of new. They have the Foos kits, but there was something more recent than that. I need to sort of babble while I look at the backwards at the releases here. They had, let's see, what is it here? They had the Gran Torino, the 76 Gran Torino, but that isn't really what I was thinking about either. I'm not exactly sure what it was that I saw now. It's going to annoy me for the rest of the night. Oh, well, at least you can go to bed knowing that I'm annoyed. But, they had some stuff, but like I said, none of it was recent. None of it was in this quarter. None of it was like the stuff that came out this month or last month. Well, that's not true. They had the ZZ Top Eliminator. That's the one thing they had that was brand new. I think competition's good. I think that this is an interesting venture. We had Accurate Miniatures, and unfortunately what happened to Accurate Miniatures was an untimely passing of somebody at Accurate Miniatures, followed by, really was a disastrous, 6 months for everybody else who worked there. One person who was very integral to the company died, and then several other people had life-changing events happen to them. And then the hobby bottomed out right at the same time. But racing, like I said, racing is hot right now. Historical NASCAR racing is very popular right now as well. Racing is a niche market, and it's been a popular and profitable one. Bell kits, BMAX, Ebro, even though it's F1 stuff, but still Ebro. And now you have somebody thinking they can make vintage NASCAR kits. I'm intrigued. Don't know if I'd go buy it, not because of the price, but because of what it is. But I think it could prove very easily that for basically, $5 to $7 to maybe $10 more than what you're paying right now, you could reshore all of that production for Revell and Mobius. And people at Mobius are the first ones who'll tell you that they cannot be done. There's just no way we could do all this stuff in the United States. And, well, that makes you look like a great big fat liar if this kit actually does come out. So, keeping an eye out on that one. Interested to know your thoughts. We'll be live streaming tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. So, if you're watching this video, either tonight on Friday when I upload it or tomorrow morning before we go live, I'd like to know your thoughts on the idea of a new startup model company doing American race cars and doing them in America from start to finish and not involving any overseas hands or feet on the project. So that will be your homework project for your discussion question. My wife is back in school, and she has a bunch of discussion questions for her online portion of her classes. So be prepared to be berated by discussion questions from here on out. That leaves us with what came out this week. So what is new? One kit out of the domestic side of things, and that is the reissue of the Polar Lights Ford GT. This is the Snap-Tight kit, came out in 2006, 2007, somewhere around there, back in the day. It is a full detail Snap-Tight kit, and then it has an engine and things like that. It's not Revell Fire Snap-Tight. This time it's going to be done in the Gulf livery. It is molded in blue, and the oranges are decals, except for the sort of the widow's peak on the front. They give you a mask there. And at this point, I start thinking it's a lot easier, if you're not a beginning modeler who needs the Snap-Tight part of it, to go get Tamiya's McLaren Orange, which I think is TS26. Why is that? I don't know if that's the right number, but that sounds like it's the right number. And that would be funny if I just know that off the top of my head. Now I have to look it up because I'm afraid I'll give you the wrong number. But they made a orange color for all of the McLaren stuff. It may not be the exact right orange as far as, you know, the shading goes, but it's close enough. Nope, TS26 and to me is pure white. That's because I was going to paint some cars pure white. I need to look at what Tamiya orange is in TS. Let's see here. TS orange is, well, 12, and what is this? That's fluorescent orange. That's not what I want. There's another orange, isn't there? It's going to bother me until I figure this out, so just bear with me here, guys. Well, TS12 is orange, and I think that might actually be the right color orange because TS73 is clear orange, and TS96 is fluorescent orange, and that's a little bit more, although it's close. Let me look. let me just completely stop talking to you guys and look. And TS12 looks a little bit more close to what it should be. Of course, Gravity has the correct color orange as well. It might just be easier to tape it off and paint the orange than it will be to try to. You've got to paint the front end anyway to get it to match the decals. Is where we're going with that. So there's that out there, and that was a really long way to go about telling you to paint the car. And then we go overseas, and we've had a couple of reissues. Over at Aoshima, we've got the reissues of the pre-painted Aventadors out, and they came out this month, reissued in, of course, their white and their orange colors, as well as seeing the detail upset for the Aventador be released with them. This, of course, has your floor mats in it and your photo etch and things like that. Of interest in the pre-paints, well, again, every Aoshima pre-paint still on the runners, touch-up mold lines, yada, 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 is that the Aventador coupes from Aoshima, we've talked about this 1,000 times, we'll go over it one more time, the fact that all of the mesh on them is decals on clear plastic. So you need the photo etch if you want to make it look realistic. However, the pre-paints are complete detail kits. Now, the Aventadors don't have an oil pan molded to the bottom of the engine. It is placed in the chassis, and then the engine itself is put into a engine tub bay type of deal. That way they could, of course, do all the Aventadors with just swapping pieces and parts out in the back end as far as the engine room, as they like to call, as Japanese people like to call engine bays. Just swapping out like the inner fender pieces and various little bits and pieces here and there. They could do the 50th Anniversario and the Roadster and all these different things with using the same engine, base engine, and the oil pan that goes into the chassis and all that stuff. So it does come with the engine, which is kind of neat because originally the Aventador didn't have an engine, and then they did a Japanese version which did have an engine, and then they reissued the Japanese version with the engine a bunch of different times. But if you go to the right hobby shops that don't sell a lot of Japanese kits, you can still occasionally find those, for export. They have a green box art to them instead of just being a white car with a silver car in the box. That's, our curbside. You just have like an engine top, but that's it. Also from Aoshima this week, we saw the reissue of the 4 wheel sets for the month of January, and these are all 20-inch wheels, but they're performance wheels rather than being VIP wheels. All of these are being shown in a background of a Nissan 350Z, so I give you an idea of what they fit. It's kind of maxing out a 350Z's wheels, but they do fit, and that are these wheels: the Blitz BRW Profil 09 mags, the Rays wheels VR G2, the Advan AVS model mini mold forged F7s, and the Rays wheels Graham Lights R57 GTs. So if you have a car that is using a larger wheel, GTR 350Z, apparently 370Z, anything along those ilks, some different wheel options for you there. Over at Hasegawa, we've had one reissue so far for the month of January, or actually this would be the third one, but one for this week. And that is a reissue of their Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 4 curbside kit, a much better choice, incidentally, than the Fujimi kit, although you know, Hasegawa's cars tend to scale a little smaller towards 125th. They do 124 sometimes. But again, overall detail and everything else like that, much better option, much better choice than the Fujimi kit that has the generic chassis that was used for everything from the Evo 3 to the Evo 9. Speaking of Fujimi, there were 3 reissues this month, or this week. I keep saying this month. I'm so used to doing one monthly video. See what I've got myself stuck into? This week are the reissue of the Honda Integra Type R. This is the 1996 Integra. So just a reissue of this kit, last seen in the Toja Mountain Pass series, now back into a real sports boxing. You do get the goofy, weird spoiler thing that's going on back there, as well as just a regular factory stock spoiler. This kit has all the parts that's normally had in it, as far as, you know, pieces and parts. It does have left-hand drive, but there are no Acura Integra logos. We did not, of course, did not get the Type R here in the United States in the first place as far as the Integra, but with a little bit of peering around on eBay or some other sites, you can usually come up with some Acura logos and multiple scales, and some of them maybe end up being the right size for an Acura Integra, as it were. If you want to go that route, you get a Type R wannabe, if you will, because amusingly, it includes California license plates on the decal sheet, but of course we did not get this car. 2 spoilers, that's a big difference between this and the last reissue. The last reissue is the one I have, and it doesn't have this weird whale tail spoiler that's going on there. And then we got the 2 Estimas that were coming out this month. One is a Tokyo Metropolitan Police vehicle. This is a kit you will have to paint. I believe there's a decal for the hood. Usually when companies do these police cars, they give you that widow's peak that the hood always has, but then they give you the rest of it. You have to two-tone yourself. Not a bad two-tone. It's supposed right on the top, in the middle of the car. As you know, and then really the front bumper is separate enough as far as the construction goes that it takes care of everything below the headlights, so you really don't have to worry about masking the front of the car necessarily. Just a transport van, basically, not a prisoner transport, but an officer transport. And so there's that. And then the other one is a fire public relations vehicle for the Hanamatsu Fire Department. Does not exactly necessarily 100% match their vehicle. We talked about this when they announced it, where it's like due to parts availability or something along those lines. You know, may not replicate car exactly. Basically, meaning we're not retooling anything. We're just throwing a bunch of junk in here into our regular Estima vans. And Godspeed. You might notice that both of them have the same light bars. I don't know if that's technically prototypically accurate or not, but be that as it may, it is what there is as far as that goes. So there are still going to be 3 more Fujimi kits this month. There should be 3 more Hasegawa kits this month. Just generally speaking, without worrying about the reissue stuff, there's still 4 Aoshima kits. None of the new boxing stuff has come out this month yet. You have all the Revell kits, 1 more round 2 kit. And before we go, we're going to talk about this kit. This is Ebro. This is the one I told you that a lot of people probably don't remember they even bothered to order. This is the 1969 Lotus Type 49B. They've done the Lotus Type 49 a while ago. And then they announced this kit, which has that weird park bench on a pair of ski poles. And it has been a spectacular to try to get this kit out. And the reason that is because the uprights didn't want to support the weight of the wing when they're prototypical, thickness. So they end up having to make the wing hollow, basically, in 2 pieces to get it to be supported by the wing struts, which are now mounted or molded in 1 piece with parts of the wheel upright. I don't know if this is necessarily the most elegant solution to that problem, but it's one that works. And so finally, after what may be 2 years, maybe even longer than that, this kit being announced, it's finally released. There is also, for the US Grand Prix version, a regular F1 style wing that goes, at a regular height behind it. Of course, I think most people are buying this for that giant flying park bench. So yeah. I can't really tell you a whole lot about it other than it's obviously a retool of an existing kit because, like I said, they did the Type 49. But yeah, for a lot of people have been waiting on this for a long time and watch every month slide backwards. And they've seemed to like put a stop to it. And they're like, no, gonna come out in January, February. We're positive. And, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, bro, sure it is. So, they actually made it this time, and it's out. So, you know, it's a full detail kit, obviously, because of the engine being exposed and it being an old vintage F1 car. But I know a lot of people will be happy to see that one finally make it out there. So, anyway, guys, that wraps up for this week. Homework assignment again is whether or not a $40 NASCAR kit or any kit, one that is built here in the United States that may have a turnaround of less than 2 years, which is what the average Revell kit seems to take from concept to deliverance, because of designing it in the United States and feeding it to China and feeding it back to the United States and feeding it back to China and then doing test shots and sending them across in foreign languages and different, you know, entirely different days and everything else like that is turned into. Or, you know, maybe it's just a smaller, nimble company that can do that sort of thing. But be that as it may, we hope to see you sometime over the weekend on our live streams, and we'll see you guys on the